Hello there. This is Craig Hayne speaking. My students call me Dr. Dell, and this is a message to any podcaster or leader of some organization that has either teenagers or young adults that would like to improve their life that they're dealing with. And I want to tell you what we have for you to tell them about and to offer them. So the question is, are you communicating either with teenagers in the United States primarily, or with adults that want to improve their life, either of those two categories? If the answer is yes, then you probably want to watch this video and learn what it is that you can tell them about and offer them through what me and my company is doing. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the screen and explain this to you in this video. First of all, my name is Craig Hayne, and I have a website, craighane.com. I just shared the screen and took you to it. And there are a lot of things on this website now that are free. For example, we have a video library. I'm a math guy, by the way. You're going to learn about that. Among many other things, I'm a math guy. We have a video library. And when they go to that, there's all sorts of videos about various topics of mathematics and how it applies to lots of other things. So anybody that's interested in math at all ought to watch this. Now, this might surprise you, but for example, I have 3 videos on calculus, introduction to calculus, differential and integral, 3 videos, and in about an hour, you can understand the concepts of calculus. That doesn't mean you understand calculus and can use it, but the concepts. And that's what we're going to talk about more and more. And on and on and on, all sorts of things you may find of interesting. Galileo about 50%. The infinity concept, which, by the way, I call that the black hole of math. I have another video I talk about that, Zeno's paradox, and on and on. And in fact, fairly recently, I did a video on math proof. I also have other things to give them. For example, they can get a free ebook. Now, I'm a math guy, and I've been teaching high school level math through an online program, Triad Math. In fact, if you go down here, Triad Math Inc. is our main corporation. That's our parent corporation. We've got another company, a subsidiary called Workforce Math. We have another subsidiary with something called the supercomputer. If you go over here to this box over here, you can click on that and you can go and get a free ebook that you can actually either read or listen to, How and Why Homeschool Math Can Be Vastly Superior to Public School Math. Now, any student can study math at home. Either they're going to a public school or private school, doesn't matter. And obviously, if they're homeschool, they can. And this book will explain all about how to do it successfully and what's wrong with public school math, the way it's taught in public schools. By the way, it's not the teacher's fault. It explains all about that. So this is quite a book, and you can, every one of these chapters, you can go to and you can either read a PDF of it or you can listen to it. So you don't have to read, you can just listen to it. Now, more subsequently, I wrote a book that I really wanted to explain the problem with math in this country. And so I wrote a book called How and Why Public School Math is Destroying the USA. And if you click on this tab right here, get your free ebook, you'll be able to go here and then you click here to get a PDF copy of it. You can buy it on Amazon for under $5, but you can get a free PDF copy. And this is it, How and Why Public School Math is Destroying the USA. And what we can do about it and how there is a program today that will save it. Will save public school math, will save anybody studying math. So this is basically what I've got. Now, what you're going to find out is I have a math program that's online, interactive, and you can, if you want to know what's in any math program you want to look at, you should look at your syllabus. So you can download the PDF of my program, and what you'll find is there's 6 tiers, and the first 2 tiers are what we actually call workforce math. Now, this is what I start any student. The first thing I do is we teach them how to use a scientific calculator, the TI-30XA. It's about a $10 calculator. It's wonderful. It would have been worth $1 million during the Manhattan Project if they'd have had one back then, because it lets you do all of your arithmetic calculations quickly and easily. Forget all the old manual techniques for doing arithmetic. Nobody uses them anymore. You use a calculator. You have to understand. In fact, I say that students should take my program once they understand the decimal number system. You need to understand the decimal number system, which most kids learn in the elementary school. Then you master this calculator. And you also, I want to be sure that they know the rules of arithmetic. So there's another 10 lessons on that. Every one of these lessons, by the way, is a tutorial video, me tutoring a video off of Amazon Web Services, so the student has complete control of it. And in my book, I explain to you what I call spike pedagogy, which is the only way a student can really learn math effectively. Self-paced, proper content, interactivity, keeping score, and empathy. Okay. Not only do you get the tutorial video, but you get a set of notes and exercises. You can get a PDF copy of them and print them out, or it turns out in recent times, Amazon will print them out for you very inexpensively. So if it should turn out that you don't want to print out a PDF copy, you can go to Amazon and buy them for just a few dollars. I'm not talking about textbooks now. These are notes and exercises to go with the videos. They're not textbooks. Now, this takes most students about anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks to go through this, and they love it. A lot of students today are afraid of math. They've had a bad experience with math. They don't like math. When they learn to use a calculator, it's almost like playing a game. They go, well, this is fun. I can do this. This is easy. This can't be math. This is too easy. And I go, guess what? Math does not have to get any harder if it's taught properly with the proper content. And in Tier 2, I start what I call practical math. Workforce math, algebra, practical algebra. Guess what? 10 lessons. And that's all the practical algebra you're going to need probably for all the technical things you're going to do. I'm not talking about science and engineering now, but just technical subjects. Geometry, 19 lessons. What's the length of something? What is the area? What is the volume? That's what you need for practical math. Now, what you can't do with just algebra and geometry, putting them together, is a lot of angles. You need something called trigonometry, and that scares a lot of people to death. Trigonometry. Trigonometry, for practical trigonometry, guess how many lessons? Only 7. And you'll know all the practical trig you'll ever need. Now, most students go through this in about 1 semester, 3 or 4 months. It's self-paced. They can take as much time as they want. I've had some students go through it in less than 30 days. I've had some students that take their time. They come and they go. It takes them 6 months. Maybe it'll take them a year. I tell them to do a lot of reviewing because you tend to forget. And so they can go back and review these lessons and so on. Now, once they finish this practical math, they're ready to go to any tech school, to go into an apprentice program, to go in and work for some technical person and learn a technology. Find a technology you like, and the practical math is what you need, is the tool you need to do it. Obviously, you need to learn to read. Maybe you learn to write. You got to read instructions. You don't necessarily have to write them. Math, you need practical math. This is the practical math. And no school today, to my knowledge, teaches it. There's no textbook that does it. I don't know of any textbooks that do just what we're talking about here. And students can't believe how easy it is and how fun it is. It's almost like a game. Now, there's 4 more tiers. What are they for? Well, if a student decides they want to go to college, they may have to take an exam like an SAT or an ACT, and for that, they need more math that they will pass those tests. So now in Tier 3, first of all, I introduce a wonderful textbook, the best math textbook ever written. It only costs about $20 by Dr. George Simmons, Pre-Calculus Math in a Nutshell, Algebra, Geometry, Trigonometry in 119 pages at a deeper level than I've already taught it now in Tier 1 and 2. And about 20% of that book I teach in Tier 3. Now, some of this stuff you'll never use if you're not going to go into science and engineering. You'll never use it. You'll never care about it, but you have to learn it for the tests. And worse than that, you got to learn the manual way of doing it, because that's what they make you do on the test. Some of this you might find of some value. Some of it, in fact, you will. Markups and discounts and things like that. So there's a little bit in here that will be of value. We call it consumer math. And then there's some preparation courses. And this is Tier 3. Now, most students will go through Tier 3 in about 1 year. Again, it's self-paced. Some students do it quicker, some take longer. When you get done with that, you're going to probably score pretty good on one of these standard tests. They're horrible tests, by the way. I say they're horrible. I explain why in my book, How and Why Public School Math Fail in the United States, why these are terrible tests and why this is something that a student shouldn't have to go through this way. But it's the world we live in today. Now, the question is, when you get done with this, are you ready now to go into science and engineering at a really good school like MIT or Caltech or Purdue or wherever? And the answer, oh, no, 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 no. Now, why now? You need now to go into those same subjects at a much deeper level. And I do a little review of geometry, going beyond what we've already done. Then I'd start into algebra at a much deeper level. And guess what? When you do algebra at a deeper level with the old manual tools, it's very difficult. Algebra is a very difficult subject with the old manual tools. But there's a tool today that's been introduced in 2009, a 21st century tool. And I introduced it in using it in A5, Algebra 5. It's called Wolfram Alpha. Now, Wolfram Alpha is one of these modern tools that, like an AI tool, that you give it any math problem, if you know how to do it, if you know how to ask it properly, and it does it for you. And if it's possible to do it manually, it'll show you how to do it manually, but you'll not even care usually. Now, once you start with Wolfram Alpha, it now makes all of this math go from a difficulty level of 6 or 8 down to 2. So the first thing I do then, when I've introduced Wolfram Alpha, is we study what are called conic sections. Then functions, polynomials, logarithms, trig functions at a much deeper level, frequency, phase, trig identities, all this. And Wolfram Alpha makes all this easy. It's really kind of amazing what Wolfram Alpha does. It just makes this math so much easier to learn. And so students go through this and they're always amazed. Well, this math's not hard. I thought math was hard. No, not with the tool Wolfram Alpha. And by the way, why don't I introduce it back in Tier 3? Because that would make that math much easier. And the reason is the test won't let you use it on the test. Their tests would be obsolete if they let you use Wolfram Alpha. So we're at a point in time today in math education where the math educators haven't caught up with the modern tools. And my program is the only one I know that uses Wolfram Alpha and now teaches math with Wolfram Alpha. Now in Tier 4, we cover complex numbers and special topics. Well, I'm talking Tier 4. We did Wolfram Alpha with algebra and all that. Now I do complex numbers. Now, this is a very important thing. Real numbers correspond to points on a straight line. Complex numbers correspond to points in a plane. They're not difficult to understand when they're taught properly. And there's 11 lessons, and when you get done with that, you will fully understand complex numbers. Now, that's critical for science and engineering. You use them all the time in science and engineering. Not enough just to know real numbers and the calculator. You got to know complex numbers and Wolfram Alpha. I have some special topics that I cover in algebra that you'll need for science and engineering, and that's Tier 4. Now, what you've learned all about in Tier 4 is what are called functions, trig functions, polynomials, logarithms, exponentials, and so on, and combinations of them and inverse functions. And these are the building blocks of math models. Now, the problem is you got to analyze the functions. You got to know maximum, minimum, points of inflections, areas. That's a subject called calculus. Differential calculus is all about graphing a function and finding its maximum, its minimum, its points of inflection, and so on. Manually, it's not terribly difficult, but it is difficult. With Wolfram Alpha, it's very easy. Most students in engineering school can get through differential calculus. Then we get into integral calculus. Now, this is finding the area under a curve, and it involves what is called the fundamental theorem of calculus. This was discovered by our ancestors back in the 1600s by Isaac Newton in England and Gottfried Leibniz in Germany. The fundamental theorem of calculus is the most important theorem in the history of mathematics because that is what empowered modern science. That is what Isaac Newton used in order to create his Newtonian theory of physics, which became the foundation of modern science and technology. Up until then, the most brilliant mathematicians in the world couldn't solve the problems you needed for modern science. Fundamental theorem of calculus. Now, it's not hard to understand it. It's difficult to apply it. When you have to use manual techniques, it's extremely difficult. When I was teaching engineering school for 4 years, integral calculus, usually called calculus 2, flunked more kids out of engineering school than any other subject. because the manual tools are difficult to learn. You never know which one's going to work, and many times they don't work at all. In fact, they have to rig the problems up so the manual tools will work. A lot of times they won't work. With Wolfram Alpha, it's easy. 30 lessons, and you're through both differential and integral calculus. Most students do it now in one semester. Do you believe that? Calculus, when it's taught manually, it takes 2 years. With Wolfram Alpha, it's easy. In fact, you can do problems with it you can't do manually. It's amazing. Now, the workhorse of science and engineering are what are called differential equations. A differential equation, unlike an algebraic equation, has a solution, which is a function. A differential equation, unlike an algebraic equation, has a solution, which is a function. Solving differential equations is even harder than integral calculus manually. With Wolfram Alpha, it's easy. 14 lessons, and you've learned differential equations with Wolfram Alpha. Now I teach that in high school. I have students now that have gone through all 6 tiers by the time they're 16 and 17 years old. Unbelievable. Historically, with the manual techniques, most high schools maybe get through differential calculus, maybe, and not very well at that, because the manual techniques are difficult to apply. Often they don't work. Very difficult. So then you go to college and you take calculus again, and that's when you take probably differential and integral calculus both, and differential equations. And that takes probably 2 years. Now with Wolfram Alpha, this whole thing is done at the high school level. When you finish tier 6, if you're interested in science and engineering, STEM they call it, science, technology, engineering, and math. If you're interested in that, you are now better prepared than any student coming out of any ordinary public school or ordinary school with a standard curriculum. And that's what this is all about. Now, okay, I've had a lot of people over the years say, Craig, the math is wonderful. And most students, by the way, many students only go up through tier 2 and they're done. But what else is there about besides math that you've learned in your life? Because I've had a very interesting and fascinating life. People are quite amazed by the life I've lived and what I've done. And I'll tell you that story, by the way, in the How and Why book. You heard a lot about that. The How and Why Public School Math Destroying the USA. The first 3 parts are really my story. And, well, I said what it is, actions have consequences. Now, the truth of the matter is actions have consequences, and a wisdom tool is when you understand what will be the consequences of some specific action you take. And it took me decades and decades to learn all the wisdom tools I have used to have the life I've lived. Continually improving my life by learning a new wisdom tool that lets me do something better than I would have done it otherwise. Because what happens is a lot of actions, you have consequences you don't understand, and they're not good. A wisdom tool lets you know what the consequences will be, and then you can take the action that gives you the consequences you want. And that's what I've done. And by the way, there's over 24 wisdom tools now that I have that I share, and I'm adding more as we go. And it just blows people's minds. So I've got a website called the best $9 you'll ever spend. And what it is, it introduces you to what I call the Triad Math Tribe. Now, the Triad Math Tribe, see if I can get it here. I don't know. This is the Army. The Triad Math Army is really what I recommend that your people all start with, because the Triad Math Army has all of the math I told you about available for you and all of your children if you're a parent or a mother. It's $30 a month, but the first month is no risk. If you don't like it, you join it. You'll learn a tremendous amount. So you go to my website, and I explain all this now back on my website way back then, and you'll have access to all the math for you and your children, and also to the wisdom tools. On top of that, with the Army, if you go out and recruit other members, you get paid to do that. So actually, if you recruit 3 other members, that'll bring you in $30 a month in income to offset your $30 you're paying. If you recruit a lot of members, it can make you money. As a matter of fact, we're going to have Triad Math Army members that are going to actually end up making quite a bit of money, because they're going to get, if they recruit a new member, $30 a month, they're going to get $10 of that a month, and that's forever, as long as that other member stays a member. And so if you went out and recruited 100 members, you'd make $1,000 a month, on and on and on. And it probably, for a lot of people, that are gregarious and know a lot of people and want to help people, recruiting 100 members is not that big a deal. There are literally, in my opinion, millions of people in the United States today that will benefit from this. Millions. The math they may need, they may not. The wisdom tools, everybody will benefit from that. Everybody will benefit from the wisdom tools. And a wisdom tool basically is me explaining something on a video that I've learned to do, and then you have to apply it to your own life. And you have to decide which wisdom tools you want to apply at what point in your life. It took me decades and decades to apply all these wisdom tools to my life. So you're not going to do it in a month or a year. When you join the Army, you're probably going to stay in it for the rest, a long, long time. Put it that way. I hate to say forever or the rest of your life, but you're going to stay in it for a long time. And that's the Triad Math Army. And so if you're like, for example, a podcaster, this is what I'm going to recommend you send your people to. Just go join the Triad Math Army. Read the book if you want to about the math, if you're interested in math. Otherwise, just start with the wisdom tools. Even if all you ever use the wisdom tools, that's worth way more than $30 a month. My feeling is that for a young adult, probably the wisdom tools will help them improve their life in many ways, including financially. And what if you learned from wisdom tools how to go from making a routine job, making $20 or $30 an hour you didn't like, to a job doing something you really like to do, making $40 or $50 an hour. Over the course of your life, that's worth a tremendous amount of money. And you're getting it all for $30 a month. Or if you recruit some new members, maybe for nothing. The whole idea of this world is nothing is free, but if you do the right things, you get rewarded for it. And that's what this is all about. And you learn all about that in the Triad Math Army. So that's what, if I were advising any young person, adult, I'd say join the Triad Math Army and try it. Now, at the end of the 30 months, 30 days, first 30 days, we take your credit card, but we don't charge it for 30 days. At the end of 30 days, if you don't like it, you drop no money. We didn't charge you. You email us and say, I don't want to be a member of the Army, and we're done. Didn't cost you anything. You had 30 days to learn a whole bunch of stuff. If you don't learn a lot of stuff in 30 days, well, that's your fault, not mine. Because it means you didn't try. You didn't put any effort into it. Just watching videos and learning and doing things. Okay, now, at the end of 30 days, you can continue in the Army. Or if you don't want to go out and recruit other members and you don't want to train other people in math, you can join the tribe for only $9 a month. So you switch to that, $9 a month, and then you've got access for one person to the math and the wisdom tools, just for one person. And I call that the tribe. But I would have anybody that you go to just have them join the Army, because if they join the tribe and spend $9, that's not refundable for that month. They get the first month for $9, and then they can stop, but then they don't get to $9. You join the Army, you get to 30. So that's what this is about. So this is a rather long video. I understand that. But if you're interested in helping people improve their lives or helping teenagers, the math will help any teenager, by the way, going to school. The math will help any teenager. That alone, forget the wisdom tools. The wisdom tools will help them also. But as they get older, the wisdom tools become more important. A lot of these wisdom tools I didn't learn until I was in my 40s and 50s. And it helped me improve my life in many ways at that age. I'm an old guy now. I've been around a long time. As you're going to find out, you go to my website, you'll find out. In fact, if you don't know me and you're just sitting here watching this video, how old do you think I am? Just sitting here talking to you today, having a great time. I'm in a condition called flow, which I explain as a wisdom tool. I'm doing something I'm intrinsically motivated to do. I'm not motivated by money, by the way. Once you make enough money, that money doesn't become motivator. Other things have to be more important than that. That's another wisdom tool. Talk about financial freedom, all sorts of things. But anyway, how old do you think I am? Well, I'll tell you something. I remember Pearl Harbor. It happened 1 week after my 3rd birthday. Okay, now you can figure it out. Now I'm doing this particular video I'm doing in 2025. So I'm 86 years old. I'm in my 87th year. I don't have any aches or pains. I don't take any medicine. I'm very active. Why? It's the wisdom tools that let me do it. There was a time in my life when I smoked cigarettes. Time in my life I drank a quart of whiskey a day. I had a lot of bad habits. Wisdom tools are all about how to exchange bad habits, make them good habits. We all have habits and addictions. I'm addicted to sugar. Who's not? And it made me fat. Okay, I got over that addiction by getting addicted to foods that were good for me, and then I lost the weight, and now I'm back down to a good weight, and things like that. So I haven't, and I'm not a genius at all. I'm an average Joe when it comes to intelligence, I do believe. I was lucky in my life. I had some really, really good teachers. I tell that story in my book. So you might say, "Well, you got a PhD in math. That must mean you're a genius." No, no, no. It means two things. I had some good teachers and I got some wisdom tools. Believe me. And I explain all that. You're going to learn all that if you join the Triad Math Army. You're going to hear my whole story. You're going to learn a lot of stories. I'm going to tell you all sorts of things that you're going to find interesting. I come up with new videos for my Army members and my tribe members all the time, new things I'm thinking about. I usually will come up with some interesting thing that might help you improve your life probably every week or two. And it's all, you never know. So anyway, if you've watched a video this long, go to my website, craighane.com, and probably what you want to do is to join the Army for 30 days and evaluate it. And by the way, there's another thing I didn't even mention, but you'll learn. You can buy a lifetime membership in the Army for $1,000. And I have a deal for investors if they want to give a lifetime membership to a young adult to get them to improve or sell it to them. Better yet, I tell them how to sell it to them. They can buy it for $1,000 with some kind of asset. I'm a deal maker. And so, by the way, if you happen to be a podcaster, I'm going to give you a lifetime membership in the Triad Math Army that you can give to anyone you want to, or you can use it yourself. So you're going to get $1,000 gift just for me thanking you for being on your podcast, and so on and so forth. Well, enough of that. This is Craig Hane, Dr. Dale. I will, as I'm enjoying this, I'm going to sign off on it, and I will hopefully see you in the future.